to be president, and he can't find the time in his little video to say he's proud of this country. We've never lived up to it, he says.
I don't think that if Joe Biden was president, we would see these types of gains. It is because of Donald Trump's policies and what he has done to help our country grow again.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here with you and to hear these stories on why the fight for freedom can never be forgotten.
What is happening in our backyard today, I experienced as an 11-year-old by a guy named Castro.
Republicans are the party of freedom, Democrats are the party of socialism and worse. We are
11-year-old, but a guy named Castro.
Republicans are the party of freedom. Democrats are the party of socialism and worse. We are.
Year-old, but a guy named Castro.
Republicans are the party
This isn't
of freedom.
just an ad.
Democrats are the party
This
of
is your
socialism
tool to
and
keep
worse.
America great. Join the Army for Trump and download the app today.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Team Trump Online. I'm Lara Trump, Senior Advisor to President Trump's re-election campaign. Tonight, we have the pleasure of welcoming two great congressmen
both so much for
from
being
the
with
state
us
of
this
Georgia.
evening.
Laura, glad
Thank you
to
for
be
having
with you. Glad to join you tonight.
All right, well, I want to jump right in and start with President Trump's recent trip to where else but your state of Georgia last week, where he spoke about infrastructure and talked about his plan to build the nation's future in a timely manner. Representatives Ferguson and Carter, you were both with the president for the event in Georgia. Can you explain what the president's infrastructure plan means for your state and for America moving forward? Representative Ferguson, I'll start with you.
Yeah, listen, great to have the president in the state of Georgia. His energy level and his commitment to infrastructure was absolutely amazing. The things that he talked about that I think will make a real difference are streamlining the processes, removing the regulations, and I thought it was a very poignant moment when he stood up on stage and showed the current regulatory environment versus what he has proposed, and then he simply said, Joe Biden wants to add to that longer list. We know that kills jobs, it kills projects, it costs more money. The president is on the right track here, and what his executive order and his vision for America will make this country stronger, and we will renew and rebuild our infrastructure.
And Representative Carter, what was your reaction to the president's visit, to his speech, to everything you heard?
Well, no question about it. This is another great example of having a businessman who truly understands what business is about, having a businessman in a position where he can make a difference. Shortening the review process, the environmental review process from 7 years to 2 years, that is just phenomenal. I mean, the president made the point, and it's a great point, that things change so much in that period of time, the whole project could change.
That's right.
And yet, it's erroneous to think that the longer you have to review a project environmentally, the better you can do it. That's not true at all. You can review a project and have as much impact on the environment in 2 years as you can in 7 years. What does this mean specifically to the state of Georgia? What does this mean specifically to my district, the 1st Congressional District, which includes 2 major seaports? It means that we have more rapid transit of cargo. It means that we get the product to and from the port quicker. And that means more commerce. That means more for our economy. This is truly an example, as I say, of someone who understands how the business world functions.
Yeah, it's a great point, by the way. And I mean, I used to say this all the time in 2016 on the campaign trail. These are things that this president is talking about because he's had experience with this in his past as a businessman. And he always was frustrated by how long it took to get things done. So now, as the president of the United States, we're seeing why he's so great at this and why he understands it. It's actually a great point. All right, so I'm going to play a clip for both of you. I want to get your reaction from the president's visit. Let's watch this.
We want the United States to compete and win in the 21st century, and that means we will not allow our nation to be hamstrung by wasteful Washington regulations. We're the nation that built the Golden Gate Bridge in 4 years, the Hoover Dam in 5 years. And a lot of people don't understand this, but it's so true. We built the Empire State Building in less than a year. Can you imagine that? The Biden administration, our past vice president, opposes, think of this, all of our permitting reforms and wants to increase the length of the permitting process. Think of this. This is in his Bernie Sanders deal. Biden is happy to tie up projects and red tape, and we want to get things built. But they want to increase the length, so they want to increase it from that to much longer.
All right, Congressman Ferguson, what's your reaction to Joe Biden's plan to increase these regulations?
Well, I'm absolutely opposed to it. Look, one thing Buddy Carter and I both share is we're both former mayors, and we both had to do infrastructure projects. We did them at the local level, and it was important to get them done quickly for our economy. It was important to get them done well for our environment. And what Joe Biden will do is that he will slow this process down. Our infrastructure projects simply will not get done. There will be a tremendous amount of wasteful spending. At the end of the day, it doesn't make it better for the environment. Matter of fact, I would say because of the timeline, it makes it worse for the environment.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, it absolutely will destroy this economy, because if you look at where Joe Biden wants to focus on infrastructure, it's not the things that are going to make us more competitive like the president has said. It's not in broadband. It's not in clean energy. He is talking about doing things that are going to be very, very slow moving, things that aren't going to put us at a competitive advantage and will continue to bankrupt this country. Listen, Buddy mentioned it earlier. You've hit on this. We've got a businessman in Congress that loves the American people. He believes in the American worker. He believes in this country. And we need to be there with him because he is knocking down the barriers for us to be successful.
Yeah, and Congressman Carter, I want to get your thoughts on this. We saw what happened under the Obama-Biden administration. Things were regulated out of control, red tape over everything. How detrimental would a Joe Biden presidency be when you hear just what the president's saying there about him?
You know, we have a president who created the strongest economy ever. Before the pandemic, we had the strongest economy ever. If we have someone like Joe Biden go back into office, we're going to revert back to what we were used to in the 8 years that we had the Obama-Biden administration. I want to give you an example. The Savannah Harbor Expansion Project. In Savannah, we are deepening our harbor from 42 feet to 47 feet in order to accommodate the post-Panamanic ships and the bigger ships. That project was the first permit that was issued was in 1995. We did not start construction until 2015.
Oh my gosh.
We will not finish that project until probably next year. In that period of time in China, they have already started and completed 3 different port projects.
Yeah.
That's an example of the bureaucracy of Washington. Joe Biden is an example of someone who has been a product of Washington. He has been in Washington, D.C. since the early 1970s. That's not what we need. We need Donald J. Trump to go back in the office, someone who truly does understand the business world, someone who truly understands how to get this economy back to where it was.
Yeah. And by the way, it doesn't have to be the way that it's been for so long. That's crazy. It was issued in 95 and not until 2015. As you're saying, that's 20 years. Yet you heard the president say in his speech in Georgia, it took a year to build the Empire State Building. We should be moving back in that direction. But sadly, there are a lot of career politicians like Joe Biden who want to put the red tape on things, who want things to take forever. They get kickbacks from their buddies, the lobbyist group, the special interest groups that support them, not President Donald J. Trump. He is doing every single thing he can to help America and Americans. Representative Ferguson, can you tell us how the Trump administration has helped state governments to ensure they have everything that they need to combat the coronavirus? We know this is on the top of everyone's minds.
Laura, we're so grateful to President Trump for the leadership that he's shown to make sure that our states have the resources that we need for testing, for personal protective equipment. I can tell you in our state of Georgia right now, our fatality rate is dropping. And if you need care because of the resources that the president has directed to the state of Georgia, there's a place for you to receive that care. He has been so strong here, and he has been so strong in fighting back against China. We have to remember Joe Biden is the career politician that allowed China to grow to become the threat to our freedom that it is now. And President Trump is the only one that has stood up to China. And whether it's dealing with them stealing our intellectual property, whether it's them cheating on trade deals, quite candidly, if it's the way that they have mishandled and lied about the coronavirus and the world pandemic, Donald J. Trump is the only one that is holding them accountable, and he is making sure that American families are safe and have the resources that they need to battle through this very, very tough time. On the other side of the equation, former Vice President Joe Biden he is the one that has enabled China, and he is standing in the way of progress. He is trying to push this country towards socialism, which is a step towards communism. We can't stand for that. I'm so proud that Donald J. Trump is fighting this.
Yeah, and we still don't know what Hunter was promised, what they wanted for the $1.5 billion that he got from China when he flew over on Air Force Two with former Vice President Biden. We may never know. Where is Hunter? Nobody's seen him for a while. It's interesting, isn't it? Representative Carter, you've actually been very involved with the Paycheck Protection Program, and you've been following its results. Can you talk about how instrumental the Paycheck Protection Program was in protecting American jobs? I know I've talked to so many different small business owners that say without this, they wouldn't have survived.
No question about it. As a small business owner for over 30 years, I have firsthand experience with this. I know how important small businesses are to our country. 90% of all the businesses in America are small businesses. Half of the people who are employed here in America are employed by small businesses. How successful has the PPP been in the 1st Congressional District of Georgia? Thus far, we have had 10,818 businesses that have received the PPP.
Wow.
Over 103,000 jobs have been saved by the PPP. And that's what we intended it for. That's what the administration set it up for. That's what we in Congress passed it for, was to retain the employee-employer relationship. And we've succeeded in doing that. It has been a lifeline for these small businesses. Every day we get calls. We get people calling us, thanking us for having the PPP in place. Without it, I hate to think what would have happened.
Yeah, I've actually gone out to dinner with my husband recently. Now that we are able, I live in New York. I unfortunately don't live in the state of Georgia, but we finally opened up some restaurants. And whenever we've gone out to dinner, I'll tell you the couple of times we have, these owners of the restaurants have come up to us and said, thank you, please thank the president for what he did. And some of these people, by the way, guys, I don't think voted for Donald Trump in 2016. I'll bet they're considering voting for him in 2020. But you're right, it has been a lifeline for people, and without it, it is absolutely terrifying to think about what could have happened to this country. Thank you both for that great opening segment. I want you both to stay right where you are, and you at home, don't move. We're going to be right back after this short commercial break. Hey, Lara Trump here. The fake news media has spent years trying to stop President Trump with their lies and their witch hunts. But still, our movement is stronger than ever. We can't let the fake news media drown out our positive message about all of our incredible accomplishments. Make sure you're getting your news directly from the source by subscribing to the official Donald J. Trump podcast today. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. And you ain't black. And you ain't black. And you ain't black.
It was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country.
All right, welcome back to Team Trump Online. I'm Lara Trump, and we are joined by Representatives Drew Ferguson and Buddy Carter. In recent weeks, chaos has unfolded in Democrat cities where law enforcement is hamstrung and unable to do their jobs. Despite this, Joe Biden refuses, as the leader of the Democrat Party, to speak out and put an end to the lawlessness. Instead, Joe Biden caved to the radical left. Let's watch this clip of Joe Biden telling Americans what he really thinks of the brave men and women of law enforcement.
Surplus military equipment for law enforcement. They don't need that. The last thing you need is an up-armored Humvee coming into a neighborhood. It's like the military invading. They don't know anybody. They become the enemy. They're supposed to be protecting these people. So my generic point is that...
Do we agree that we can redirect some of the funding?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely, Joe Biden says we should redirect that funding. Representative Carter, what are the consequences of Joe Biden and the Democrats referring to the police as the enemy?
You know, nothing, first of all, we all know that nothing could be further from the truth. The police are there to serve and protect. That they are there to help us. They are not there, as has been suggested by the Democrats, to persecute or anything. You know, what is happening here, and I believe it is fueled by the Democratic Party, by the far left, by the liberals out there. What is happening here is we are seeing an erosion of law and order, and we cannot have that in our society. I am so proud that we have a president, Donald J. Trump, who believes in law and order and who believes that we should have law and order in our country. Defunding the police is one of the most ludicrous suggestions that I have ever heard. I cannot imagine. Now, I will tell you this, what we've seen here in our country in the way of this looting, this protesting, the destruction that we're seeing serves no useful purpose whatsoever. I will tell you, I'm very proud of the 1st Congressional District of Georgia. We had a terrible incident. We had a terrible incident involving a young man, Ahmaud Arbery, who died way too young. And we should be outraged by that. We should be outraged by what happened to George Floyd. Yes, we should be protesting, but we should be doing it in a way that's going to be productive. We've done that in the 1st Congressional District. Thanks to the community leaders in the district, thanks to the public servants there, we've had productive, peaceful protests as we should. And now we're seeing results as a result of that. We're seeing progress, and that is what we need to see. But this idea about defunding the police, this idea about the police as our enemy, that is one of the most ludicrous things that I've ever heard. They are there to protect and to serve.
Yeah, and it's actually frightening to think of a possible leader of this country who would even consider suggesting such a thing as though we should consider the police an enemy. These men and women literally put their lives on the line every single day for every American. And you know what? They don't know if they're coming home at the end of the day. Their family sends them out. They don't know when they're going to see their loved one again, but they do it because they love this country. They do it because they are public servants. And we are so appreciative of everything they do. I want to get back to what we heard Joe Biden say there, the yes, absolutely, when asked if he supported efforts to redirect some of the police funding. Now, we know that redirecting funding is language consistently used by those on the left that want to completely defund and abolish the police departments in this country. Representative Ferguson, how would the radical proposal of defunding the police put forth by Joe Biden negatively affect the city of Atlanta and make Georgians less safe?
It leads to mob rule. If you remove police officers from the streets and you take away the funding that they need to do their jobs, American families will be less safe. Look, Georgians, like every other American, they want to live in safe neighborhoods. They want to raise their family. They want to go to work every single day, and they want to know that they can come home to a safe neighborhood. And removing the police from those neighborhoods simply does not allow that to happen. We have to remember that there are some really, really bad folks out there that mean to do harm to our fellow Americans. Look at the MS-13 gangs, the drug dealers, people that are involved in human trafficking, and you want to pull away resources from protecting our citizens, our fellow Americans from that. I don't know how Joe Biden wakes up in the morning knowing that he is going to make America less safe. Look, President Trump has always been about the American family, about the American worker, about the American experience and the American dream. And fundamental to a job and a great education, you got to have a safe place to come home to and live in a safe neighborhood. Defunding the police is the most radical idea that I've ever seen, and it will simply lead to mob rule, and that is not safe for American families. There is not a mother in America or a father that wants anything more for their children than to be safe and secure in their home. And we need to make sure that that's available for every single American across every single socioeconomic background. And we have to rely on our law enforcement officers to do that, to defund them, to demonize them, to put them in harm's way, and to pull them away from the people that they're there to protect and that they swore to protect is irresponsible. Joe Biden should be ashamed for that position.
Yeah, but it's interesting because apparently the Democrats and Joe Biden think that this is a winning message. Representative Carter, what does it say about Joe Biden and that entire party that they believe that Americans would rather defund the police than uphold law and order in our great country?
I think what it says to us as conservatives, as Americans, I think it says that we have got to get out and we have got to vote. We've got to get Donald J. Trump reelected president of the United States. We've got to make sure that we take back the majority in the House. We've got to make sure that we retain the majority in the Senate. It means that this upcoming election could possibly be the most important election of our lifetime. This is nothing more than a move towards socialism. And we cannot allow that. We can never give up. We cannot give up. These people are serious. What's so scary about this, what's so scary about Joe Biden and the liberals out there is they truly believe this. They truly believe that we should be defunding the police when in reality, we should be doing just the opposite. We should be giving them more resources. But yet they want to move in that direction. So I think what it shows us is just how important it is that we do our job, that we accept our responsibility of getting out on election day, of making sure that we're getting our friends, our family members out, and that we're voting, and that we're putting people in office who are going to maintain this country the way that we know it should be.
Yeah, absolutely right. And, you know, it's interesting because Joe Biden has tried to present himself as somewhat of a moderate Democrat, that he's not that far left. Well, don't be fooled, America, because Joe Biden is the Trojan horse for the far left Socialist Democrat Party. And you don't have to take my word for it. He has now joined up with Bernie Sanders, the Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders Socialist Unity Platform. That's their new thing. They're teamed up together, and it goes far beyond even defunding the police. Congressman Ferguson, how have Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders united together proposed the most radical leftist platform in the history of American presidential politics?
Laura, it is unbelievable to me that the Democrats and the Socialist Democrats would go there because they know it can't be good for America, but they're doing it anyway. And I will tell you what, I think what it shows you about Joe Biden is after 40 plus years in Washington, D.C., he is so confused about policy, he doesn't know what he stands for. The Democratic Party put him as the head of the ticket because they were labeling him as a moderate. And now he has Beto O'Rourke as his gun czar, AOC as his energy czar. He will have Elizabeth Warren as head of the Treasury, and now he has put Bernie Sanders in charge of socialist policy. That he has just aligned himself with folks that are only a breath away from communism. That is wrong for this country. But look, here's the other thing that we've got to remember. Not only should we fear where they are trying to take us, but we should embrace what President Trump has been doing for America and where this country is going. Think about our economy. He has done more to make this the #1 place in the world to do business, created the most favorable tax environment that has created the most jobs and the highest revenues coming into the Treasury. He's got the best trade deals ever. The USMCA is absolutely amazing. And for the first time, I know many folks that saw the bright future that was promised to them the day that Donald Trump was elected president. We need to go back to being the #1 place in the world to do business. We need to be focused on job creation, on making sure that we're the most innovative country on the planet. The world needs America to be successful because we have the innovation, we have the ability to dream, to think, to fail, to get up and to start again. And when Donald Trump is president, our future is bright. And if we don't do everything that we can to reelect the greatest president that this nation has ever known, then you will be stuck with a group that is going to lead us towards communist China, to make us like Venezuela, to make us like healthcare in Cuba. You go down the list, I will tell you what, we need to fight this every single day because we know that that's wrong for America, but we need to embrace this incredibly bright future that we know that we can achieve with President Trump.
That is exactly right. And by the way, we know that the president every single day is fighting for every American, fighting tooth and nail against the lying fake news media, against the career politicians that have literally dragged this country down for decades. So I always say to people, they say, please thank the president for fighting for us. It is our turn, America, to start fighting. Get out, get ready, because this is the most important election we will ever have. You literally have a choice this election between freedom and the American dream or full-blown socialism, a step away from communism. That is not what we want to see happen in this country. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for those insights. I want you both to stay where you are, and everybody, we're going to take one more quick commercial break. We'll see you right back here.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Hysterical xenophobia.
Giving Americans a false sense.
Is it accurate that if these steps had not been put in place, it could have been 2 billion people dead here in the United States?
Yes.
No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't. We built the greatest economy the world has ever seen, and we're going to do it again. Together, we're beating back the invisible enemy.
What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Through it all, the world has witnessed the unyielding resolve of our incredible American people.
Promise made, promise kept.
And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And you know that. With the grace of God, we will win this war, and we will win this war quickly. And we will make America great again.
A bull in a china shop, changing Washington. It takes a Donald Trump to demand truth from China. Shut down foreign travel. Get ventilators and tests now. Raise unemployment benefits. Cash relief to families. Washington's come to that. President Trump's not always polite. Mr. Nice Guy won't cut it. He does it his way, not the Washington way. But Donald Trump gets it done.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
All right, gentlemen, welcome back, and welcome back to you at home. Let's dive more into the specifics of the Biden-Sanders unity platform. Joe Biden wants to mandate net zero emissions for homes, offices, and all new buildings by 2030. That's only 10 years away. Congressman Carter, what does this disastrous plan mean for Georgia and America moving into the future?
Well, obviously, that is not sustainable. We have proven here in the United States that we can grow our economy and decrease emissions. There's no question about that. What this pie in the sky proposal that the Democrats and that Joe Biden have come up with is not sustainable. It will destroy our economy. It will lead to people not being able to afford energy. It will lead to people literally dying. And I'm not exaggerating there. That is something we need to keep in mind. This is not something that is achievable whatsoever. Now, I beg to differ with the Democrats, and I served on the Select Committee for Climate Change, and I fought this. We have made tremendous progress here in the United States, and we still have progress that can be made. If you look at what the greatest innovators, and by the way, the best innovators, the greatest scientists are right here in the United States of America. We have them right here. And I'm proud of what we've done. I'm proud of what our energy sector has done in cleaning up our energy. We need to continue to encourage them to do that, and they will do that. However, to set these unobtainable goals, and it's just going to bankrupt our country, and it's going to lead to people suffering as a result of it. We're actually an energy exporter now. I mean, how phenomenal is that? I'm old enough to remember, you two are not, but I am, to remember the late 70s when we were too dependent on the Middle East for our energy needs. And we knew then, I think there's a difference in knowing something and realizing something. We knew we were too dependent, but we realized it when all of a sudden the price of petroleum went up so much. Well, we realized it, and we knew that we had to have energy independence. We've done that to the point now that we're actually an energy exporter. That is phenomenal. I applaud what we've done here in the United States in the way of energy. Yes, and look at the innovation that we've experienced. We've experienced great innovation, and we're going to continue to do that. But to mandate this, and to have zero emissions, to set unobtainable goals like this, that's ludicrous. That's what we expect out of Joe Biden and the Democrats.
It's true. It's sad, but true. And maybe they should go over and talk to China and India while they're at it and tell them to clean up their act. I mean, the fact that this should all be on the back of the United States of America is absolutely insane whenever you think about what's going on with some of these other countries around the world. But this unity platform calls for a 100-day moratorium on all deportations, abolishes immigration detention, and provides taxpayer-funded lawyers for illegal aliens, folks. This plan effectively opens our borders to anyone who wants to come into the United States, including dangerous criminals. Congressman Ferguson, how would Joe Biden's open borders plan impact America's sovereignty?
Well, first of all, if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. And we have to remember that. And we being an American is a privilege, and it is something that we guard. As an American citizen, I know I'm just like everyone else. I know that I have the privilege of living in this great country and am protected by our Constitution. And what Joe Biden and the Socialist Democrats want to do is they want to tear that up. They want to give away our American freedom, our treasure, and our sovereignty to anybody else that wants to come in here. And as you mentioned it, Laura, especially those folks that are willing to do us harm. Yeah. Look, we have people that are willing to poison our children with drugs, that are willing to steal our children and go through human trafficking. All of the horrors of what happens when criminal activity is allowed to flourish across this border, coming into our border. We've got to push back on that. American families want to be safe. American families want the opportunity to have the best jobs. We want to be the most innovative country in the world. And an open borders policy simply destroys that. There is a way for us to have a good, solid, legal immigration and guest worker program. The president, I know, has talked about that and has really got a desire to fix this problem the right way. But to open the borders and give our country away to other people is wrong. It's wrong not only for the current people, it's wrong for future generations. And I can't believe that Joe Biden and the Socialist Democrats would want to steal from future generations and give it to people that aren't a part of this, a legal part of this great country. So I'll tell you what, it's shameful. He should be ashamed of that. We cannot allow that to happen. One more reason why we have to fight every single day to get Donald J. Trump reelected as president of the United States of America.
Well, maybe they think that's going to be their only voting block left, because I think a lot of people listen to what these folks are proposing and they think it's absolutely crazy. It's a little bit remarkable, actually, how Joe Biden won the Democrat primary, if you actually think he won and they didn't steal it away from Bernie Sanders again. and moved to the very far left. Most candidates do the opposite. Most move to the center after their primaries are over. So I want to ask both of you, how does this impact Joe Biden's chances in the general election against President Trump come this November? Congressman Carter, we'll start with you.
Well, first of all, obviously, this party that used to be the Democrat, this is not your father's Democratic Party. This is a different party that we're experiencing now. Listen, I'm up here, Drew's up here, Laura, you know what's going on here. These people are serious. They want socialism. They believe this, and we cannot allow this to happen. You have seen it. I've seen it happen in the 6 years that I've been up here. And I've seen them move that way. And the left part of the party, the left wing of the party, has taken over the party. And that's a shame because, quite honestly, way back when, the Democratic Party was a reasonable party. They're no longer reasonable. The left wing has taken over. They want socialism. They want it now. And they're not going to stop until they get it. That's why it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we stop them, to make sure that we get out and do our part, that we campaign, that we work hard, that we get Donald Trump re-elected president again, that we take back the majority in the House, that retain the majority in the Senate, that we make sure that our Supreme Court has conservative justices that are interpreting the Constitution in a conservative manner, the way that it should be interpreted. All of that is vitally important. We need to do that for future generations. We need to do it for our children, for our grandchildren, and our grandchildren's children.
Yeah, and by the way, as extreme as we thought some of what President Obama did during his tenure as our president, Congressman Ferguson, he probably wouldn't even be able to fit in with this very far left Democrat Party. That's why I call them the Socialist Democrat Party, because it really is unrecognizable. But apparently they think that Americans are just going to give in and say, oh, that's a great message. What do you think?
Look, when America thinks, or not when America, when socialist Democrats think that President Obama is too moderate, that says an awful lot about where their mindset is right now. Here's the thing. When you ask the question about, what does it do for the election to have them go so far to the left when they have policies that allow China to become even more of a threat, to demonize and defund the police, to allow for mob rule, to take away your choices in healthcare so that only the big insurance companies have control, and maybe one day the federal government has control over your healthcare, to go down this entire litany of things that they want to do. We know it's not right for America. I know families, doesn't matter if you're black, white, Latino, Asian, does not matter. American families know that this is wrong, and that is this incredible coalition that's being built around the president right now. There are so many new voters that are coming to the president because they know that the Democratic Party has left them, and there's no place for them in a socialist party. They are coming to the president right now because they appreciate what he has been able to do for their jobs, but what he wants to do for their safety and security, what he wants to do for choices in healthcare, how he has made us one of the cleanest countries because of American innovation and American energy. And so that they want to go as far left as they can from a political standpoint, let's let them, because you know what, there's an old saying. It says, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. And if they're going to be that dumb, they better be really, really tough, because Donald Trump will not allow them to succeed.
Yeah, amen to that. All right, I want to get final thoughts from both of you. But before we do that, we need as many of you at home as possible to join our efforts to make America great again this November. And here's how you can get involved. As always, be sure to text Trump to 88022. You can download the Trump 2020 app from the App Store today. It's available for the iPhone and the Android. And you can register there for events, become a volunteer, and earn exclusive prizes. All right, so Representatives Carter and Ferguson, before we end the show, I want to ask you, what message would you like to leave with the American people this evening? It's a very, very big year, very important election. Congressman Carter, we'll start with you.
No question about it. This is the most important election of our lifetime. We cannot take this lightly. Folks, these people are serious. They want to move this country towards socialism. They want to abandon the principles that our forefathers had fought so hard for, have died for. They want to move it that way. We cannot allow that to happen. We've got to get out there. We've got to do our part. We've got to fight hard. We've got to campaign. We've got to reach out to our neighbors, to our friends, to our family members. We've got to make sure that they're getting out, doing their part. We've got to support the candidates. Obviously, we've got to get this president reelected again. Obviously, as I've said so many times, we've got to take the majority back in the House. We've got to take it back and retain it in the Senate. We've got to make sure that our state legislatures remain Republican, and we've got to turn them to Republican. We've got to vote Republican, and we've got to get out and work. These people are serious. We've got to be serious too. We've got to do our part. I want to thank this president. This president has given up so much to serve this country. And so many members, so many Republican members have done the same thing. I want to thank all of them for doing that and for putting themselves out there. But most of all, I want to thank the American voter. I want to thank you for getting out there and doing your part, for supporting Republican candidates, for supporting conservatism, and for making sure that we get Donald J. Trump reelected president of the United States of America. This is the most important election of our lifetime.
All right, Congressman Ferguson, final thoughts from you.
Yeah, Congressman Carter and I had the honor and privilege of flying with the president and some other members of our delegation down to Atlanta for his big speech at the UPS facility. And one of the things that struck me on the flight down there was his enthusiasm, his excitement. There is so much energy that he has. And when you hear him talk about the American worker, when you hear him talk about the men and women of law enforcement that are laying their lives on the line every single day, when you hear him talking about our veterans coming home, and it's a visceral response, and his energy level is incredible, and his love of this country is absolutely amazing. And I wish we could bottle that and just turn it out, turn it loose all across this great country, because his enthusiasm and his spirit and his optimism is unmatched. And I will tell you what, when you contrast that with sleepy Joe Biden, who won't come out of his basement, who I doubt seriously has the courage to debate the president one-on-one on a stage. He'll probably want to hide behind a teleprompter and a monitor like this. I think as America sees that contrast, they're going to go, we don't want the socialist communist ways that Joe Biden is leading us. We want that bright future with endless opportunity and innovation and promise that America holds, that Donald Trump will lead us to.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. Well, Congressman, I want to thank both of you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to speak with us tonight. Keep up the great work. We appreciate everything you do. And thanks to all of you patriots at home for watching as always. We will see everyone again next time.